Angelo, we're here. Finally made it here. This is the Salami Masterclass that we're doing here at La Luna Bistro, and I'm really excited, as you can tell. And this is Angelo really excited. Just by the way, this is the excitement. This is about 110%.
Yep, I'm exploding with excitement.
Exactly. There you go. We're really excited to be here to pass on the skills about the salami making that we do here at La Luna Bistro. Angelo has been here. We've been working together here at La Luna for probably 16 years together.
Yeah, too long.
Probably. I reckon nearly 20 years. 20 years you've probably been here. Nearly that.
Yeah, sort of.
There you go. And we make all of our salami, all our small goods, prosciutto, capicola, lardo, lombardo. Everything is made in-house here at La Luna Bistro. We dry age our own meat. We do everything here. But I think the salami is something you and I have a great passion for. We're both Italian. He's full-blooded Italian. Angelo comes from a village in Italy somewhere. What's the village called again?
Rossano, Veneto.
There we go.
That's where Dad's from.
Veneto. So Angelo actually comes from, I think it's 19 generations of butchers. So he's been making salami. His father's a butcher, grandfather's a butcher. I think they've even traced the butchery back to the Romans, the Roman times. Your family
we taught them how to make hams, yeah.
Exactly. So we're really experienced you're really experienced at making small goods and butchery stuff and salami, which is what we're going to do today. My family, you know, my mother's Italian, my grandfather comes from the north of Italy, and I used to sit on his knee as he would cut off pieces of salami and eat it. So I've always loved small goods and salami. And I think when we started here at La Luna Bistro, we wanted to make everything you eat at the restaurant, we want to make, and that's what we do here. We're tradesmen, we make everything. You know, a butcher and a chef, and that's one of the things about being a tradesman or tradesperson now, is we've got to pass on our skills, and that's really important. Now, we do have to make sure that we cover the hygiene thing because it is that COVID thing. We're not wearing masks. Angelo and I have been in isolation for the past 3 weeks at Bouvier Bar.
Just for this show?
Just for this, at Bouvier Bar. We've locked ourselves in there with the bar. We've drunk it from the top shelf down. So we are nice and clean, but we're just going to sanitize ourselves like that. There we go. We're nice and clean. And to make sure that the outside is sanitized, the inside has to be sanitized. Yep. Salute to everyone there. There we go. Down the hatch.
Spilled it all over me.
That'll get it started. All right. To make salami, we need meat. And we've got a nice piece of meat here. Now, we've made salami from lots of different animals. We put beef in it sometimes. We've made lamb salamis. We've made elk salami, deer salami. Basically, anything with a pulse can be turned into salami, but we think that pork is probably the best one. So what we've got here is a nice shoulder of pork. Normally when we make salami, we would probably have 2 whole pigs and we'd break them down and make salami, but we're just going to keep it nice and tight and small so we can run through all the special points to making these small goods at home. I think the idea behind this is we do this in production here. We've got a big kitchen. The idea is this, so you at home can actually make this salami in your garage, which is where the best salami in the world comes from. Yeah. Melbourne Garage. I've actually done statistics from North Carlton. If you head north out that way, all the way up to Reservoir, that area there is what we call the golden triangle of salami manufacture. The garages and sheds out the back and the awnings, that's where some of the best small goods and salamis hang, ferment and age. But we'll get to that later on. Now, what we should do is start with the pork barrel. This is the barrel, and if you look, the pork barrel is actually this part of shots. There we go. That's the shoulder there, and the barrel's down here. So this is the shoulder. Thanks for correcting me on that one. There we go. Got to get it right. So this is the shoulder. We find that is one of the best parts, and if you are making this at home, this is probably one of the best bits to get. Now, we will show you one thing if you want to come in nice and tight here. Angelo and I were talking about this before. Is the fat? See the fat there? It's about a finger wide. That tells us that it's a good pig, lived a good life, and got lots of fat on it. This is why it's important to go and get onto a good butcher if you are buying your meat, and this is why we like to actually get a whole piece like this and break it down, because that fat there is important, and you'll see later on when we put it together. So, Ange, do you want to take a half of it off the shoulder off?
No worries.
And I thought your knives were sharpened already.
Oh, you know, you always got to touch them up a little bit.
There we go. So, and just using, I don't know if you see the knife, it's a swayback boner there. So it's got a nice little swayback there. That's what we use for taking the meat off the bone. Angelo's got a heap of them that he uses. So what he's going to do is from the actual rib cage here, he's going to go down the outside. You hear that cracking sound? You probably heard that little crack. That's what you don't want to hear when you go to your chiropractor. It sounds like, like your back's cracking. And now this is probably the part that You could get your butcher to do, if you want to pop the tray there, you could get your butcher to do this and break it down. But for me, why would you let your butcher have all the fun? You want to do this yourself. And, you know, Angelo's going to do it quite quickly, but once you've done it a few times, it's not rocket surgery. It's not that hard.
No, you just follow the bones and...
Exactly. You follow the bones.
You take it slow to start.
Here we go. Take it. You could wear a gauntlet or wrap yourself up, but if you take it nice and slowly, and you know, salami makers, you know, all the Italians that we know are all, you know, are making their salamis first thing in the morning in the garage. They'll have this on the bench here, and they'll slowly be breaking it down. If you've got a few people around, it actually makes quite light work. You can see the bones are coming out. Now, one of the things we always do is we make sure we use every single bit of the animal, and the actual bones that are coming out here would normally be chopped up a little bit, and we would make a broth out of them. I think last week we made a lovely ramen soup with the broth out of the bones.
It's beautiful.
It was the best thing ever. And when you've got a nice stock like that, that's a nice fresh stock with some lightly roasted bones, and we boil them up, they're beautiful. Now this is, I'll just move this one out of the way here. You can see here, can you take the neck off, or the, this is what we would make the capicola, which is the neck that we salt and cure, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on, but this is a really, really nice small good or charcuterie that is delicious, and it's basically a big chunk of meat that's been salted and air dried, and we wrap a bung around the outside of an air dry, but we'll get to that bit. But that's where it comes from. So that's a beautiful piece.
There,
Normally we would trim it up a little bit, but you've got that beautiful solid piece of meat there. You can wrap it around, but we normally trim that part of it off. But it's this part here that's got a little bit of fat on it. When you slice it, it becomes really, really nice. So the other thing that we want to talk about here, I suppose, is the sinew. Ange, can you show us some of the sinew?
I'll just take that
little piece off there. When you're taking the meat apart, it's really important that you separate it into good lean meat, or even if it's got a little bit of fat in it, but that's okay. You want to have good meat, and you want to make sure that that meat doesn't have any sinew in it. Sinew is, of course, the chewy part, so you've got to make sure you remove that. So it's a matter of going back and forward underneath that sinew.
That's a bit that you sort of want to take out.
Yeah, that's it there. So that's a bit chewy. You could probably have a little bite of that one, but that's what you want to take out, because that makes that makes the salami chewy. It doesn't work through the mincer. You want to get it off, but we don't waste it. These little scruffy bits here, bits of tendon, bits of sinew, these sorts of things, we use them to make another sausage called cotechino, which is, or musetto. Musetto, that's what your family calls it. Angelo and I've been making it for
the Veneto,
years. The Veneto version of it. I like a lot of spice in it. Mine tastes like almost like a Christmas pudding, and yours has got the
just not traditional.
We like to live on the edge. So there we go. So we remove the sinews on one side. We've got some lovely lean meat, and the other part there is the fat. If you can take some of the fat off.
Yep. Well, that's the nice fat we use.
Exactly. So I'll just take that off there. So we move that out of the way. The fat's really, really important, and we like to have plenty of fat in any salami we're making, because the fat actually rounds out the flavour, makes it moisten, and when you're eating it, it actually lubricates your mouth as well when you're eating it. So it gives you a really, really nice mouthfeel, which is really, really important. Now, one of the other things that we're talking about is hygiene, and I know we sprayed ourselves down as well. Hygiene when you're making salami is ultra important, and I would have to say that's at the top of the list. When you're setting things up, all your equipment, your boards, your knives, your mincers, everything has to be really well washed before you use it, and again after you use it as well. You've got to make sure it's all scrubbed down, clean, dried, and then
in between using it,
making sure you don't cross-contaminate anything. All right, so we've got beautiful lean meat here. We can dice that up and make salami out of it. We've also got some fat here as well, which is beautiful back fat. And you can see it's really, really clean. That's probably the best you can get. And if you can get this back fat, get this back fat and have a little bit extra back fat, just in case, that's really important. If you don't have enough fat in your salami, it will taste terrible. It's just dry, and it's just not worth eating. So we want, and if you're worried about having too much fat in your diet, well then maybe just don't eat salami, because it's all about, we're not doctors, are we? We're not nutritionists, we're not dietitians, we don't care how long you live. We're here to make sure that every minute on this earth that you're eating salami is a delicious minute, and that's what it's about. So we've got the fat here as well, and it's just, you could just eat it like that. We actually use this fat when we get large, big blocks of it. We make lardo out of it, which is one of the best things. So tell us about the lardo. What do you do with that?
Well, you get the thicker fat, and then you put a few spices over it, and you store it. Basically, you store it under salt. rock salt for about 2 months.
2 months, and then you take it out and
slice it very fine.
We call it white prosciutto or pork butter. It'll slow your heart down a little bit. You'll feel it sort of, the oxygen mask might drop from the ceiling. Take a few drags of that, and then off you go. It's a beautiful thing to eat. It's probably going to kill you very slowly, but what a way to go. It is a delicious thing. So we've got our meat, we've got our fat. The sinew we move aside, and that's what we use for the cotechino. The skin as well. None of this skin goes to waste. This skin we usually slice up nice and fine, and then we package it down. And then once we've got a full batch of it, because we usually do about 15 to 20 pigs a year, once we've got all that skin and sinew, we get it all ground down and we make our cotechino. We stop that. But that's maybe we're going to save for the next lesson. What do you think, the cotechino?
Yeah, why not?
We'll put all this aside here. So I'm just going to grab this bit here and hand it over to you. Here we go. Out we go. And if you grab your board there, Angelo, just grab that one. And I'll grab this. Now here's another tip. For ladies and gentlemen, make sure you put a damp tea towel underneath your chopping board. Stops them from sliding everywhere. Here we go, grab that piece over there. And here we go. Fat and meat ready diced. Now, when you're dicing your meat, this is something Angelo and I were talking about. We've got a really good mincer here. It's top of the line Italian mincer, does the job beautifully. At home, if you're if you're mincing with a mincer, a hand one, you want to maybe cut your meat nice and fine. We left it quite chunky here, but if you're using a hand mincer, dice your meat nice and fine. It means the mincer will do a hell of a lot less work.
It'll work really less, If your mincer can handle it, leave it a bit bigger.
Bigger like that. That's we can handle it. Now the thing about the dice as well is if your mincer's working really hard, it's grinding the meat and stretching it and also warming it up. So you want to keep it nice and cool. So by by making your mincer work less, it'll help it keep it nice and cool. Now the thing about the mincer as well, if you're worried about it, you can also take the mincer into the fridge. We've got a cool room. You can mince in there if you want. No, it's another thing altogether. So what we're going to do, we've got our 5 kilos here, and it's distributed as 4 kilos of lovely meat. There's a little bit of fat in it. And we've got a kilo of fat as well. So this is the fat here. We've also got a small amount of that fat is just diced, which we're going to put all the way through it. So, Angela, why don't you bring that mincer in? Drag that in there. There we go. And we're going to assemble the mincer. I'm going to show you all the parts of it. This is called the worm. So if you want to bung that in there, Ange. The worm's really important. And we've also got the plate and there we go, the plate and the blade. These two pieces here are really, really important, because this is the cutting mechanism. You think that does all the cutting, but it's actually the two together. They work like scissors, grinding up against each other, and that's what cuts the meat really, really well. So make sure that when you do have a mincer, when you want to get the blades sharpened, you get both of them sharpened at the same time. Now, we've got a couple of different plates here. We're using this as a middle of the road plate. Angelo and I we disagree on it.
We argue all the time.
Argue all the time. He's got his back to me. We always argue on the about the size of the cut. I like mine a little bit coarser, and Angelo likes it a little bit finer. I'll just show you some other plates here that we have. There you go. So if you want to pop that through the mincer there we go. You want to hold that so you put it all through the top there? There we go. Grab it off there. I'll actually come around the back there, Ange. Here we go. Pop that straight in there. And we just mince it all together. Now, sometimes, like Angelo, when he's normally doing this, he would actually do it by himself. He likes to mince the fat separately to the actual meat. Myself, I like to mix it together and then run it through. There we go, straight from there. There we go. That's the other trick, is always have something to catch your meat once you're mincing it. In it goes. Beautiful. And you can see it comes through really easily. The thing you're looking at is it's just coming through really, really easily. And with the mincer, you're not jamming it through and pushing it. You basically want to just drop it through the top and let the machine do the work. The worm pulls the meat along, and then the blades and the plate cut it up nice and evenly. And you can see this is a pretty quiet mincer. It's worthwhile investing in a good mincer if you want to do a lot of this. Maybe a few families get together and work and buy one, or maybe you could probably borrow it from a butcher. If they've got a small mincer like this, you walk into a butcher shop with a slab of beer and they'll pretty much give you anything. They'll give you the shop if they want. So all it goes through like that, and that's looking really, really nice. We've got that garnish there, beautiful. Just slide that along. That's all going through there nicely, isn't it, Ange?
Yeah.
So that's 5 kilos, and you can see it's taken about, a minute and a half to 2 minutes to mince through nice and evenly. Less time mincing means it just comes up beautifully. Now move these plates out of the way there like that so we don't mess them up. That's looking beautiful.
So I've done the meat separate to the fat, so you can then gauge how much fat. But
well, that's something we were talking about, is gauging the amount of fat to meat. So Angelo's separated them. So we like to have about 20% fat. 20% fat to the amount of pork, and that gives it a lovely texture. The other thing we've got is this diced fat. When this goes through the salami, you'll actually see big chunks of fat in there as well as the smaller pieces that keep it nice and moist. Now you can see the other thing is having a mincer on a set of wheels as well, so you can just push it out of the way. That's handy as well. Do you want to pop that onto the bench?
I'll put that on the bench.
Here we go. All right, straight onto the bench here like that. There we go. Pop that out of the way here like that. And then magically everything disappears. I just put my hand here and everything disappears. Now this is the bit we like to work on a bench here like this. You might as well start mixing it up.
Yep.
We just pop it on a bench here like this, or a really good wooden board. We can scrub it down a little bit. But Angelo's job now is to mix it all together, and he's getting his fingers in there and working that meat and that fat together really well. Now, do you want this fat here now?
Yeah, it looks like. Probably not all of it.
About half of it?
Yeah, half.
There we go. Well, a bit more? Is it just a little bit? Come on, Angelo. The fat makes it taste good. There we go. If it goes like that, there we go. Got to put in there. That's the fat that goes in there, and that's really, you'll see that, the fat going through it. When you cut through that salami, you'll see big chunks of fat in there, and that's probably the best part. So keep mixing that. Now, this is where you've got to be really accurate. This is the part where science takes over, and you really got to make sure you add the right amount of salt. And the other thing we like to add to it is the nitrite. So we've got, the bench has moved, has it?
It's moved.
Just drag it back a little bit.
It.
So this is the nitrite. If you'll see it on all small goods, it usually has the number 250, 250. It is really important. So I've got 5 kilos here, and I've got 140 grams of salt, and I've got 5 grams of curing salt. Now this curing salt you can usually get from your butcher. I will say it is quite dangerous in large amounts, so I treat it, it's like a loaded gun. I make sure we lock it away. If you've got it at home, especially around kids, make sure it's put somewhere really safe. That's the last thing you want anyone to touch. But it is really important. Nitrite, I'll just sprinkle this on. I'll just sprinkle the salt on there like that, and Angel will start working that salt into it.
Yep.
There we go, in you go. The nitrite is really important because it actually helps the colour of the salami and helps with the fermentation as well. It's really important. That nitrite, it's sort of like, you know, in bacon, if you didn't put nitrite in bacon, the nitrite is in salt, but by adding it, you make sure you get the right amount in there. If you didn't have the nitrite in salt, when you had the bacon or ham, it would look grey. It's the nitrite that reacts with the hemoglobin in the blood to keep it nice and pink, and that gives you that lovely, beautiful red look. So it is one of those things that I think is really important. And if you're making small amounts, if you're making 5, 10, 15, 20 kilos, go to your butcher. You're buying your meat from the butcher anyway. Tell him to, they're usually blokes anyway, tell him to give you some nitrite in there, and he'll measure it up for you, put it with the salt, mix it with the salt, seal it off, and then you can add it to it. Now,
all right, let's get the other spices.
This is really important here, this part here. Angelo's mixing it all together. We're going to add the spices in here. You're pushing me along, aren't you?
Yeah, well...
We've got some ground fennel that goes in here, some lovely ground fennel. And you can have the whole seeds as well, but I just prefer the ground fennel. That's a lot easier. We've got some pepper here as well, in that goes. Now, we sort of measure it, it's about 1/4 cup each, but depending on how you like your, this is some allspice, depending on how you like your salami, you can add the right amount. So Angelo's just getting that all together and mincing it together. This is important. This is the bit where if you're usually making this at home with a whole lot of people, they're into the red wine and they're carrying on and stuff, so this is the bit that you really want to be accurate and making sure you're mincing it properly. The right amount of salt, the right amount of nitrite in there, and the right amount of mixing. So Angelo's got this technique, which is the pushy cat technique.
Oh, yeah. It's the purring cat technique.
It's just, you've been analysing cats, so when they're trying to push the milk out of their mums, that's how they get it out. It's the same technique, is pushing it together to get the protein to bind. And that's important. That's important to make it stick together really well. That's one of the things that the salt helps to make it sticky and bind as well. But getting it all mixed in properly makes it bind, and that's important. If you get air bubbles in your salami, that really destroys it. So you've got to make sure you get everything out of it and get it all bound really easily. And it also is hard work as well. That's why I've got Angelo doing it. Now, do you want some chili?
I think we'll put some chili in.
Okay, I'm going to put that out. Tell me when you're ready. Now, we normally make this from my father-in-law's chili plants, habanero chilies. This is one of the best things to make. Basically, it's chilies and peppers that have been cooked down till they're nice and hot. And I'll put a couple of spoons in there.
I think we can put more. Yeah, a little bit more.
A little bit more in there. I want to put some wine in here as well, so I won't put as much in. So I've got some of that paste in there, and you can see as soon as he puts the paste in there, the smell is incredible, and it's got a really strong flavour, and it'll start to come through the salami. Now, one of the things if you're starting to make salami yourself is measure everything. Measure everything and log it as you go, because when you get to 6-8 weeks later, if you haven't recorded it and you've got an outstanding salami, you forget certain things, you'll never be able to make it the same again. So make sure you write everything down. Now, this is another thing that we do. We put a little bit of brandy in there. And with the brandy, we've got some garlic cloves. So we just smash the garlic cloves and pop them in the brandy to infuse them. It's also a great way to stop anyone coming along and drinking your brandy, because they take one little sniff of it, they can smell the garlic, they walk away. So I'll just put a couple of spoons of this on top of here as well, Angelo. Now the thing we were talking, got the garlic there.
That can go in the fresh sausages later.
There we go. The thing Angelo and I were talking about is the amount of liquid that you add to the salami mix is very important. If you add too much, it becomes really wet. The whole idea is to try and drag that moisture out of it. So I'll just pop a little bit of red wine on there. Come on, just a little bit. Let him have it.
He's putting too much flavourings now.
It's going to taste great. This is going to be one of the best salamis ever. There we go. Pass it over there like that. And the mixing of it, you're still mixing it, still getting it in. And I don't know if you saw in the credits before we started that we had the whole bench here. Angelo and I just go back and forward, mixing it till we get that lovely sticky paste. And Ange, when it's ready, when you got that sticky paste, just let me know.
Yep.
You got a piece there we can show?
I think it's nearly done.
Nearly done.
Probably one more time.
It's just working it back and forward. And if you've got someone on the other side of the bench, or you're doing this with someone else, it's a lot easier to do it. Now, a lot of butchers or manufacturers have machines that they mix it. We think that made by hand, it's got to be made by hand. It's got to be worked by hand. What do you think?
Yeah, you get a feel for it. You've got to,
There we go. And you can see I've got Angelo doing it all because he's going to have lovely red hands. There we go. You can see that's pasty. Can I grab some of that?
Yeah, take it.
This is what I want you to see. If you can just punch right in on that camera there, it's really sticky and pasty. It doesn't want to come apart. You can see it's bound together, and that's working the proteins. It's really made it stick together. That is really ultra important because that stops any air bubbles from getting in there. That's probably one of the most important things, or one of the many important things that we do. So there we go, that's in there like that. So if you've got that there.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm happy with that one. You're happy with that one? Everyone's happy?
When you're happy, just do it one more time.
There we go. You wouldn't do it one more time?
No, we'll do it. Leave it.
Sure?
Leave it.
Okay. Oh, you're happy with that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm pretty good. You can almost see it's almost rubbery, and that sort of it's got a bit of bounce to it, and it's stuck together. That is really, really important. I'll say it again and again because that's probably one of the things we really need to know about. Now, the thing we've got there is we've basically got a big pile of mince. It is salty mince, and if you want to, a lot of people will sort of don't like doing this, but I always have a taste of it. It tastes good. It's got lots of flavour to it. I can taste everything in it. People say you shouldn't have raw pork, but in Australia we don't have the triclinosis, which is the bad stuff that comes in the pork. Australia's got plenty of that. Not saying you should go and eat raw pork, but I'm very, very confident in the quality of the meat that we're using today and the quality of your workmanship, Angelo, because that tastes beautiful. One of the things that a lot of salami makers will do at this stage here, they'll grab a piece of it and they'll go fry a hamburger and have a taste of it. And what's the thing what happens? It's as salty as hell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly. So what you do is you add more mince to it and you reduce the salt level. So it will taste a little bit salty. That's what you're looking for. That salt helps to extract all the moisture, which is the most important thing. Now the next thing we've got to put it into a casing. Wash those hands. These are natural casings. These are the most important thing. And I'll just blow one of these up. Am I allowed to blow it up, Ange? There we go. You've got messy hands and I've got a messy mouth. That's what a natural casing looks like. We're going to fill it in a second. We always use natural casings. We think it just comes out that much better. It's a natural product we're making, so that's quite important to us. What we do with this is we wash it because it normally comes when you buy it. It comes in a piece like this with lots of salt in it. So the idea is to soak it overnight, wash the salt off it, rinse it inside out, and then with some warm water, a little bit of lemon in there, it's ready to go and ready to make. So I'll just show you some others. We were talking about the capicola before, that big piece of neck. What we like to do is we put it in something like this, and you can see, I'll just blow this. The only way to show this is, there we go. That's the only real way to show you is to blow it up like that. And you can get a couple of these out of here, or you can make a suppressor, which is a really large salami. You can use different sizes.
We made one last year.
We made one last year. It's beautiful. And these are quite expensive. I think this is about $5-6 each.
Yeah.
These ones are about $1 each.
$1.
I think you can buy the collagen ones with a little bit cheaper, and they're a little bit more of the same. But I love these natural casings. I think they do really well. And the other thing is, I've probably got another one here, which is, if you're going to make some casalinga or some, the smaller salami, this is probably what you do for sausage. The cacciatore. There we go. So I've got to find the end of it there. There we go. The end of it's just. But I'm not going to get anyone to kiss me.
Do you want a hand?
There we go. That's that one there. That's the intestines of an animal. Believe me, you can get them a hell of a lot longer than this, but it just gives you an idea of the different shapes and sizes you can make the salami. There we go. So that's lovely. So we've got some, what does lemon do in soaking? Well, lemon, we've got some questions coming from the sidelines. Lemon just gives you that cleaner flavour.
It helps cleanse the skin.
It helps cleanse the skin, and it's just a little bit of acid in there to help keep it nice and tidy. We always put lemon in there. We just, you don't have to if you don't want to, but we like to put a bit of lemon in there. That's the old-fashioned way of doing it. So we've got our skins over here like this, and I'll just hand that off to the side here.
Use a bit of vinegar if you want.
All right, there we go. We've got this thing here, which is our sausage gun. So if you want to start filling that one, Angelo, and I'll set the rest of it up. This is how we extrude it. Now, just to the side here, if I just get you to show, this is our regular sausage filler here. You can see this contraction here. We put the sausage in here. There's a big piston that comes up the top there, and then the sausage goes out the side there. We could use this, but we want to show you more of how we do it how you're going to do it at home. So that's a big machine. You could, of course, come down to La Luna Bistro in Rathdown Street, and Ange and I will actually help you pump your salami, but it'd probably cost you a slab each. There we go. In we go.
So when you're pushing this in, you've got to try and get most of the air out. So there's no air pockets. So you want to push it in around the side and...
You're actually really working it, and one of the things that you were showing me when we were filling the big machine there is Angelo just drops it like he's throwing a basketball.
I'll show
you. There we go.
Yeah.
Be careful with this.
You do about 3 little turns here, and then you.
Oh, there we go.
That takes the air out.
There we go. And
we've got too much in there now, so we'll take a bit out.
And you get me to do that, don't you?
Yeah.
Here we go. So these are about $450. You can get them at a lot of continental salami where you go make your wine, those sorts of things. Castagna, I think, is in Costante up on Bell Street. They're great for that sort of thing. And if you want, you can borrow this with a couple of families can get together. You can buy one, borrow one. They're pretty easy to get hold of. So that just drops straight into there. And then just put that in there. Comes with a little handle on the side here, and you just make sure you get the right one, and then just wind that round a little bit till it's ready to go. So we're using the large one?
Yeah, definitely.
Why do we use the large one, Angelo?
For the buns. You only use this thinner one here if you're doing cacciatore size.
There we go.
Because you don't want it the smaller, it'll be too much pressure.
Too much pressure on the smaller one? Yeah, and you try and pick the nozzle that fits nice and neatly in the actual nozzle the skin that goes over the nozzle. There we go.
So I want to.
So that's ready to go.
Bring the salami to here, otherwise you'll get air in your salami.
That one there. So make sure I've got the right one. There we go. No, that's the one there.
So. Yeah, inner one.
There we go. Make sure that's locked on, and in it comes. Now just stop salami. Just right there.
You can bring it a bit further. All right, about there.
Got there? Yep. All right. Now while you're doing that, Ange, I'm just going to show you something else. This is what I use to make salami and sausages if I'm doing a small one. This is an actual corking gun. You can usually see them builders using these things here. I think they're about $15 or so at Bunnings, or you can get onto the Richo website, pay $150 for it, but I'll put my signature on the side of it. There we go. So they're easy as that. I'll just grab it like this, and all you do is just with the gun here like that, out it comes nice and easily. So if you want to make a small amount of sausage or salami in a thin skin like this, you can actually do the same thing. And this is our salami mix in there. There we go. And you can actually make a nice little casalinga style salami.
This will need a lot of pricking because it's got a lot of air in there.
Full of air in there. There we go. So we've got a nice amount there.
More for sausage, I'd recommend it.
Exactly. So in that goes there like that. So what we're going to do is ready to fill this one, Edge?
I'm ready.
Now, there's a technique that Ange taught me years ago. It's I get yelled at if I don't do it right. It's called the backfilling method. So the idea is that we're trying to keep the air out of it. So with the nozzle, he'll hold it. So when we put the skin on the top of it and start pumping it, Angelo holds the skin so that, there we go.
Keep going.
So that
So if you can see that, the meat is pushing back the air and the nozzle's about there. Keep going.
Nice and slowly like that. There we
Beautiful.
go.
Bit faster.
Just a little bit. Just don't want to break the skin, Ange. Just take it easy, mate. There we go. Look at that. Now, the reason we use the natural skins is for the flavour.
Stop it about there.
There we go. But they are, and then wind it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But they are quite fickle. You can see the skin's really thin here. If you put too much pressure on it, you can split them. And you can put pepper on them and do that sort of thing and tie them up. But the best way is to split it open, restuff it, and do it again. So you want to make sure you get that part right.
You also have to stop a bit before the end because all of them have a hole. It's where the normal intestine comes out, the smaller one there. If you go too far, you'll go through this hole at the end, which is there.
So you make sure you stop it.
So you've got to stop it a bit further down.
Probably about 20 centimetres or so from the end of it. But it might be an idea when you open them up and clean them, you'll see the holes that are there. Just have a little play around with them, so you know what to do. Know where they are. Okay, on it goes. All right, there we go.
So let it fill up a bit, and then you keep turning.
Look at that. That's a nice looking salami, that one there, Angelo.
You have to get them quite tight, but you've got to gauge the pressure, or else they might burst.
That's why you're on that end.
Stop. Whoop.
There we go. So if it bursts, it covers you in salami mix.
Oh, it's not that much pressure.
There we go. There we go. That looks nice.
Let's do another.
Coming off nicely. I think we'll get another one out of these. I think we'll get another 1 or 2 out of this, Ange.
Yeah, that's about could be 5 kilo or just under 5 kilo, 4.5 kilo.
There we go. So depending on the size skin you've got, that will.
Oh, see that?
Yep, there we go. That was your fault.
That's cost you $1.
You let it off too early.
Bun,
there we go.
yeah.
Now, do you want to put that back in? There we go.
Yep.
We'll get that one off. So it even happens with salty old dogs like us, can even tear a skin.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. You just put it aside. We just blame the skin, don't we?
It's a weak skin.
There we go. The weak skin. So you ready to go?
Go. Let's see if the second one bursts.
Okay, holding on to that. All right, we're probably getting towards the end now. There we go. We'll get 3 good ones out of this. It's fantastic.
We'll stop it there, I think.
All right, perfect. I reckon we got, that's it. That's it for that
Perfect.
one. There we go. All right, 3 skins. Now, what we're going to do is tie that up, Ange. I'll get ready for the skins here for the string. There we go. Cleaning down and wiping down. So, a variety of strings here. Now, normally when we're making something with chili in, what we would do is use a red string, so it's pretty obvious. Red is hot chilies. We've got red sauce in there. But there's lots of different types of string to use. We prefer this waxy string. This is what Angelo came across a while ago. Yeah. It's his waxy skin, his waxy string.
It never bursts better.
And it slides really easy.
It's strong, very strong for my method of tying.
Now, if you can show us that method of tying there. Angelo likes to tie it down on the end.
Yep,
show us that knot.
Just a loop, simple loop. Then you hook it onto any anchor point. And then you just squeeze it a little bit tighter in there and turn it twice.
Not 3 times?
Twice.
Twice.
2's a secret number. Everything's 2. So you go 2 there, 2 curls, and then you bring it up and do a little loop. So that's where you hang it from, and that sort of goes under. And then you clip that over, then another 2. That's a lot of 2's.
A lot of 2's, there we go.
We'll do another one.
We're doing 3.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
keep on going.
You've got me on that one.
If you tie all them up, so this will take, you got that on the camera nice and easy? Beautiful. So twice around there like that. So you're doing that nice and
get your loop.
Slowly so we can see it.
And then, what you're doing is you're just putting that over the string and then bringing one of it back over and then sort of tight.
Beautiful. And then back over to tuck that little end bit in. Perfect. Nice. And one more to do like that.
One more. Now, you're also pushing that meat with your fingers in to tighten it up a bit.
There we go. And they're trying to do it as well without tearing the skin, which is really important. Yep, there we go. Round it goes like that. Now, it's a bit of a trick. This is one thing. You can sort of tie it up, but you know, tie it with a couple of knots and it comes out really well. But if you can learn this little knot here as well, which I'm still learning, by the way, it comes up beautifully.
It keeps everything nice and tight.
And it's beautiful when we've got this whole bench, when we're making salami.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the whole bench, you know, on either side of it. Okay, if you tie that off, I'll get rid of this. Perfect. So you want to hold that up in the air. Here we go.
Cut this way when you cut. Don't cut that way, else you'll stab your salami. It's a little tip.
What about stabbing butchers, Angelo?
We won't talk about that, no.
Earlier on this year, I was upstairs in the office. My office is just up those stairs there. It was early in the morning. Angelo and I were here. I heard this big yelp.
I haven't told my mum yet. She's watching.
Yeah, I know. And Angelo had slipped. And a seasoned professional like Angelo managed to slip and cut himself in the belly here. Luckily, there was no big deal. The ambulance came, checked him out. He was good. But it just shows you how everyone, if you're using these knives and this equipment, safety is really, really important. Now, the next thing is we're going to, if you don't tie it...
That wasn't cutting meat though.
Oh, yeah, we're cutting something else.
Something else.
Now, you can tie it up like this. Another thing that we like to do is netting, and I'm just going to pull this in here. Now, I'm just looking at this stuff here. This is some PVC. You know, the big skin, this is a great one to have. This is what you've got for the big skin. And also for the... I looked at this before, Angelo. I'm just thinking you didn't get into butchery for the meat, did you? You know, just thinking it's this is how we actually do the netting. We're going to do the netting on this one. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And this is the netting. A lot of people like to use the netting because it holds it in shape, and we will often, depending on the type of salami,
as it's drying, it'll tighten it up, but it also supports it. Yeah,
helps to support it. So we love it. Now this netting, it's Angelo just showed me something a couple of days ago about how to get the gauge of the netting. Yeah. If you count how many strings across here,
how many little squares?
There's 7 across here, so we double it because it's got the other side there. That tells us it's a 14. So, you know, for this type of salami here, 14 is probably what we want to be.
Yep.
You can get a lot larger and a lot smaller as well. But this is the device here that is for doing it. So you want to do the first bit. I'll just put that over the top like that.
Put it on.
Yeah, there we go. And then
push it down.
Push it down like that. If you want to grab that part there in. Now this takes a little bit of work to do. You could wet the netting.
Nah.
Do it. Here we go like that.
There we go. Sorry. His hands aren't used to this. So.
No, yeah, you go. You do it then. There we go. Now, with the really big netting we put over here, and when we're doing the big hams and those sorts of things, this thing works really, really well. Pop that down there like that. There we go. Pop it on here, and then.
You know, if we were true Italians, we wouldn't even have these. We'd have a bit of PVC pipe.
Exactly. They wouldn't pay. That's too expensive.
No, too expensive.
And that's the other tip is take the lid off it so you can actually put it through. So we'll just show you what it's for. So you ready for this one, Edge?
Yeah.
Here we go.
So yeah, the handles give you a bit of, if you want to keep it against the bench.
I'll do that.
And then you pass it through string side first. Get a little bit of netting to start it. Make sure you grab the string. Don't pull it from the string or else you might break your salami. So you push it, ease it through and then grab the salami.
So equal pressure from the back and the front. There we go.
Pull that through.
And I'll just cut that?
Yeah. Just cut the end off.
There we go. Perfect.
And that's it. That's one done.
That's a neat looking salami.
Beautiful. And we give it a bit of a prick.
We will. That's the most important. I've got these here, so we're just going to save that for later. So we'll do 2 of them and we'll leave one like that because the pricking we'll be able to see a lot easier with that. There we go, I'll cut that there like that. There we go, just be careful with a knife, cut it away from you. So we've got these 2 here, and we've got this. Now, if you have a look carefully, you'll see there's lots of air inside the skin. And as we said, that air we've got to get out. We've got this little technique here of this thing here is yours, Ange, and I just hate it. It is the most dangerous thing ever. Have a quick look at that. That is, you know, the little pricker. There's a whole lot of little pins on it, and that's designed to take the air out of it. So show us how to use that, Ange.
You just roll your salami around and give it a nice amount of pricking.
And what happens is the skin, the air is released and it allows the skin to stick to the salami. And it also, which is really important, the salami is alive. There's a lot of fermentation going, which I'll get to in a second. There's a lot going on in there, so we need that skin to sort of breathe and allow that salami to breathe. What we're actually doing now is the fermentation process. So the actual, we've got a slightly acidic pH, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but the pH level creates a slightly acidic environment so that the bacteria that's in there, the lactic bacteria that's in there is slightly acidic and it expels all the other bacteria. So only the good bacteria is in there. That's really important, having that slightly acidic. And we're not talking about like, put drops on your arm and it burns through your arm. It's about as acidic between a tomato and a banana. That's a sort of acidic. We're talking about a pH of about 5.8 to 6.4. And that is about the perfect amount of acidity that you need in it for fermentation. So all the good stuff goes in there.
Wow, that's all new to me. I usually prick them and hang them up.
Exactly, but I mean that's the old-fashioned way.
By feel,
but by feel. But that's actually what's happening, and over that period of time, that fermentation, it slowly ages and ripens up. Now, this is something that people ask. I've got a question there about garages. Now, when you make salami, naturally, when we make salami in the garage back at home, we always make it at the beginning of the Queen's birthday weekend, because we know that temperature is going to be really good for making salami over that period. It's about 12 to 14 degrees. It stays colder at night time, and it doesn't get much above that 15 degrees. So you've got that constant cool temperature, and when you hang it in the garage, that's the perfect thing. You've also got a lot of moisture around, so you've got that good humidity of about 78%. That sort of thing is always around. So at that period of time, it's raining and there's stuff around, but you've got fluctuations, and that's the natural thing that happens with salami. When we've made them here, we actually air dry all of our salami upstairs here. When we make them here, we know that when we've had those warm periods just before the snow season, that we get that outer crust. It actually crusts up and stops it from drying.
It's not that good.
So the weather's pretty important. So that's almost like a rough science that we sort of look after. So we sort of prick them and chuck them up there, but there's a little bit more in it than that, isn't there, Angelo?
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
A bit. So once we've got them like this, and we do like the netting, you'll find that the difference with these two is the netting sort of holds its shape a little bit more and have it more elongated. It helps to contract evenly throughout, so the netting sort of pulls it all together. When we've done it before, we've put a few knots of string down there.
It's the old-fashioned way.
It's the old-fashioned way. But the netting, I think, works really well. We find it's a lot more consistent, allows us to make a lot more consistent salami. We've been really happy with those ones. The round shape and the little pricking thing here works beautifully. So the thing is now is when you're making this is to pop it. You made this, it's the right time of year is to pop it upstairs in your garage and you just hook it up like this. Now, when you do hook it up, you will get some of that moisture dripping away.
The first few days it'll drip.
First, to put some newspaper down and have it nice and high so it drips up and there's plenty of airflow going through it. And that's the best way to do it. Now, a lot of people are like, there's a lot of people from Queensland and overseas that are watching. Look, one of the other things that we do is a lot of my friends have got wine fridges. And they've set the wine fridges, they operate at about 12 to 14 degrees Celsius. There's a little bit of airflow through it, or you can put a little computer fan in there so you've got some airflow through it. For the humidity, they put a little glass of water in the bottom, so there's moisture in there. And
that's spray it every day, they get a little spray.
It's a little spray pack of water. And that's a great way of making salami all year round. Now, the salami that we've made for you guys at home, we've actually, last week we made all the salamis. There's over 100 and something salamis. We've got a special cabinet that we put together, a lovely cabinet that was lent to us, and that has got we'll have all the information we'll be able to send to you on that one. We've controlled the humidity. We've got is 78% exactly. We've got the temperature. We've got it up to 20 degrees Celsius to accelerate the fermentation, and then it'll come down to that 12 degrees Celsius, and it'll stay beautifully in there with that nice cool environment and that air blowing through it and that gust of little bit of humidity to keep that humidity, and that's when we'll get the lovely mold and stuff on it. So this is what we'll hang up there, and we'll pop this up there. So this is our salami, and we've got a lot of little bonus little small goods that we're going to throw in as well. So we'll hang these up here on our little rack here next to the other ones. Look at that, beautiful. Look at that. And we'll be able to stop the fermentation progress. All the little organisms are happening in there now, and they're starting to get excited, and they'll start to jump around and make some beautiful salami. So we'll just give that a bit of a wipe down there, Ange. There we go. Now, this is something that we've been making for quite some time, and I wanted to do this because not everyone sort of wants to grind their meat down, and if you want to make something a little bit different, this is a great entry-level small good that you can make. It's sort of like a salami in a way. Well, it's not like a salami because you're not grinding it, but it's that same sort of...
It's a cured
product,
meat,
which we find is really, really easy. There we go. Now, basically, if you just show them... Turn that over so you can see what we've got there, Angelo. We've got our pork. This is the belly. Right. So this is where we were talking about the belly before. This baby sits right here. Which is the belly, and you can see it's nice and lean, isn't it? And this is the loin or lombardo. If you've got a porterhouse steak, this is the beef equivalent to a porterhouse steak. This
Around the
sits,
back.
turn around, this sits on the back there, on either side of the spine, that's where it comes from. We've left
human
the skin
guinea
on
pig.
it. Exactly. So
Right.
we've got about 5 kilos here, which is the same amount we had with the salami. So we've got the same amount of salt and cure. It's 140 grams of salt here and 5 grams of the nitrite, which will mean it comes out nice and pink. So Angelo likes to, I mix it together with the salt and the sugar, but I reckon Angelo's method of doing it is a lot better.
I massage it all in.
Massages it in and makes sure that that salt and the nitrite are straight on the meat where they belong. Now, while he's doing that, I'll show you the rest of it. He rubs it in quite well, make sure it's in there. The rest of the cure, and this is where it gets unique because I use sugar and 2 types of salt to cure it. So I've got here, which is flossy salt, which is a coarse type of salt. You can see it's got a lovely feel to it, but we use flossy salt for everything. So we don't use table salt, flossy salt is the best one. So a kilo of flossy salt goes in there, and I've got some brown sugar here. I love brown sugar, gives it a lovely sweetness as well. A kilo of brown sugar goes in there as well, and a kilo of rock salt. Now people are asking for the recipes. All the recipes will be available. I think we'll send them to you by Monday because we're going to have a sleep-in Monday morning. I mixed that through like that, and you can see we've got all that lovely salt and sugar mixing together beautifully. Now we've got to flavour that, and I'll flavour that with some rosemary and bay leaves. Just throw them straight into there like that. I've got some whole fennel seeds here, about 1/4 cup of that. Some oregano goes in there as well. Some pepper goes in there as well, about 1/4 cup. Some chili goes in there, some flake chilies, and some smoked paprika goes in there as well. In it goes like that. Now I'll just hand this off here like that. We've got the magic person over there getting rid of everything, and you mix it around. This is got a beautiful smell to it. It's going to have some sweetness to it as well, and some sugar. And some sweetness to it and some salt in there, and lots of herbs and chilies and stuff on there as well. So we mix that together to make sure it's well combined. And then we grab this baby here. And then this is how we cure it. So this is something you can do at home. And it's pretty, the reason we started doing this is because it holds up really well to different types of weather. We've made this in the summertime, and once you get this curing process done properly, that's the pepper coming out. Once you get this process going properly, you can hang it in much warmer environments. You know, if it's 20 degrees, it'll hold up beautifully. It's almost like making, it's sort of like a quick sort of prosciutto in a way, the way it sort of
it doesn't
finishes
take
up.
as long.
So on it goes like that. And you make sure you rub it in. There we go. The rest of it goes in there like that, and pop it all in like that. And you might yeah, that's it. Pack it in like that, and it looks good. And that pepper has gone all the way through it. So there we go like that. What we do with this is we pop it into the fridge or the cool room, put a lid over it. Yep. Pop it into the cool room for about a week. And during that time, you will notice a lot of liquid coming out of it. Just tip that off, give it a bit of a cover up again. Now, we talked about this before. If you think, if it's not covered, you can always put a bit more rock salt on it. Put a kilo of rock salt, spread it out. It won't bother it at all. So if you move that aside there, Chris, grab that there. Beautiful. Now, the leftover bit, what you end up with is this here, Angelo. We'll take that off there. Now we've got the finished product here. If you want to pull that one out for me, Ange. That's what it looks like after a week of curing. You can tell it's firmed up quite a lot. That pepper's all the way through here. We've got to put the exhaust fan on. It's just killing me.
So you can see the liquid in there?
Yeah, that's the liquid. Tip it off a few times, but you can see that cure's held up really well. You see the bay leaves in there, but the most important thing, it's really firmed up. So what happens is that salt draws out the moisture. All the nasty stuff live on moisture, so the more moisture you pull out of it, the longer it's going to last. That's the idea of it. There we go. So pull that off there. Now the bit you end up with at the end is this here, which is the pancetta or the flat pancetta. You can see it's really, really firmed up. Now that's cured beautifully. So what we like to do now is air dry it. So that's at the position now which we did air dry. But before we do that, we've got to stitch it up with our probably the biggest sewing needle in the world. This one. I wonder whether it's the biggest sewing needle in the world or just our glasses.
It's a butcher's needle.
It's a butcher's needle, and we probably don't need our glasses for this one.
No, it's so easy to thread.
You can do that one blindfolded. So in it goes like that, through the hole there, and then you've got it. What we do is punch a few holes in it so we can hang it up and let it air dry. And we just put this up with the salami or the prosciutto that we're making upstairs, and it just hangs there beautifully. In goes through there like that, and then tie it off. Do you need a knife to cut that?
Yeah.
There we go.
You just try and get them even, so.
Nice and even like that. And we're just using the regular twine. I use a nylon twine for this. I find it just holds up a lot better. It's a lot stronger. You'll hardly ever break it. There we go. Cut it through like that. And then the other part that we use is the
rub all that in.
Is the rub. Now, if you hang it up like this, that's fine. But we find that we put a rub on the outside of it, and this is what adds the flavour. It's sort of like a pastrami. It's got a rub on the outside of it. This is made up of the same ingredients that went into the cure: the oregano, the chili, the pepper, the paprika. All those same things are in this rub.
You can
here.
use what you like, really, but yeah.
Yeah, we just don't put any salt in there. So we rub that on the outside of it, and it comes up beautifully. And this is really, put it on the outside. Now we leave the skin on. You can take the skin off, and we've done that many times by taking the skin off. We find if you do that, it dries out a lot more. That skin also is a protective layer as well and stops it from drying out the other side. And the other thing there, you'll see Angelo, he's actually putting the cure into the actual into the holes there.
Yeah.
That pepper's gone all the way through me.
So that's
it. That's what it looks like.
That.
Now, and a couple of those, we might rub it down again. You will notice when you do hang this up over the first week or so, as it dries out a little bit, you will get a lot of drips of the paprika and stuff coming out of it. But after about 6 weeks or so with the pancetta, and maybe about 8 weeks with the lombardo, the loin, which is a little bit thicker, you'll see that it'll dry out beautifully and be ready to slice. And it's almost like making a quick prosciutto. So we'll hang that up on the rack there. There we go. Pop that there. And we'll just give it a bit of a wipe down, Angelo, because we're just going to have a little taste of everything now, which I think is the most important thing, is making sure we taste everything. Nice little cloth like this. This is how we like to wipe everything down. Normally, what we do, if we're doing in real television world, we just turn off the cameras, a whole crew comes in, rips it all apart and cleans it, then we start again. Now, we got the prosciutto and stuff. Here we go. Now, while we do that, we probably need to just cleanse ourselves just a little bit, Angelo. There we go. And some vino and a little bit of this. I think we've covered it. Now, we had a few questions about, the temperature, and I think we've covered a lot of the main points. One is getting the really clean meat, and fresh meat is really important. Making sure we've got the right ratio of fat to meat is really important. Making sure we've got the right amount of salt and nitrite, which is really important as well. And also making sure we've got the right acidity to it, the pH level. And a lot of people will say, how do we measure the pH level? I've looked around a lot. There's some really expensive units to do that. Look at this. How's this? This is the way to do it. There's some really expensive units to measure the pH. You can get a really good sushi pH tester. It's about $130. And with that, you can check your salamis often to make sure you got the right sort of pH. Now, the thing that people ask about is the mold. And mold is a good thing. And I'll just show you one of the salamis here. This is the ones we made a little while ago. Look at that mold on the outside. You've got that green, crusty mold on the outside. You can see we've got the netting on it, white and green in there. That's really good. That's like a good cheese, That's the fermentation going on. The mold in there gives it a tangy sort of flavour. That's what we're looking at. That shows us that the salami's curing up beautifully. We feel it, and when it starts to feel firm, we know it's ready. And it's a good idea if you are making salami. We always run a few thin ones through as well, because they will cure up a lot quicker. So in half the time, you've got thin salami, and you can actually see how it's working. So
they're the ones you eat first, and that's so forth.
That goes to the butcher and the chef, doesn't it? Here we go. So that's what we do. All we do is peel the skin off, give it a bit of a wipe down with a warm cloth of water, and this comes off beautifully. In fact, I've got a knife over here, a nice clean knife. I'll just slice that in half like that, and you'll see what it looks like. A little bit of dust from that, and it just comes up beautifully. What we will notice with this one is it's got a bit of a hard crust on the outside. When we made these salamis, it was nice and cool, and then it warmed up a little bit, then cooled down. This, I'd let it hang for a little bit more, but this is going to be beautiful. You can see that lovely crust around the outside and that beautiful salami on the inside. What do you think of this, Ange?
Lovely.
Now, what we've got in front of us is all the things we make here and the things we talked about. This is the flat pancetta that we put together. You can see all the paprika on my hands. This is the flat pancetta, nice and thin, but it's very much like that prosciutto. It's got the fat in there, which is really good. A little bit of the chili on the outside.
And that's the round equivalent, which, we always have arguments which ones are better.
I like this one because I just like the flavour.
This one's got a nicer
look to it. This is Angelo's one, and this, you can see the belly. He wraps the belly around, the fat going through it. It's a lot leaner.
Cures a lot longer.
This is great to cook with. A lot of people will cook with this. It's very traditional for cooking with, and it's just, a fat goes down. Oh, Ange, have some. Here we go. I'm doing all the eating. This is the lombardo, or the loin, that we made before. This is the end result of it as well. You've got that lovely eye muscle there. It shrinks down quite a bit. Lovely bit of fat there that just rounds everything off and makes it even more delicious. That's the best way to do it. Down the hatch.
And then that's the couple collar the neck that we pulled out before. A lot of people, this is an easy one to make as well. So it's
exactly
one muscle of meat, yeah.
Yep, and tying it up and air drying it. Now this is another small good that we make. This is bresaola, which is actually made from beef. It's a red wine brine. Same salt, salt and nitrites in liquid, and the liquid we use is red wine. We pop it in there for about a week to 2 weeks, depending on the size of it. All the nitrates and the salt penetrate it, the flavour of the red wine get into the centre of it. Then we string it up, tie it up, and we air dry it till it's nice and dry. It usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the size of it. Now this is your pancetta, is your prosciutto, Angelo.
Yeah,
you can see we've made our own prosciutto here. This, I would say, is some of the best prosciutto that we've had. This prosciutto here and these small goods, you can only get here at La Luna Bistro or Bouvier Bar. There's no other place in the world that you can get these. They're unique to this place. And I'd have to say, the prosciutto you make is one of the sweetest, most delicious prosciutto. And it's made on the bone, which is the old style way of doing it. There's no machinery, nothing. It's just you, me, and that's the way we do it.
Usually it's just me.
Because he's the butcher, because he gets up early in the morning.
He doesn't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So,
I come in with my coffee at about 9:30 and have a coffee. How's it going, Ange? And then this is a prosciutto. This is the salami here. This is the
the my salami.
Ange, I'm doing all the eatings. There's something wrong with this. We need some vino as well. I think everyone at home is having vino, so we better have a bit of vino as well. So I think we've covered most of the things that we need to cover. We've got a little bit of wine here. I would have to say that the quality workmanship of the camera and the technical stuff has been outstanding. Dan, you've done a fantastic job. Yeah. Anyone doing a Zoom thing or any filming and they want a professional person to put it all together with all these cameras and all the stuff, Dan's the man. His stuff will come up, his information will come up pretty soon. Now I've got some questions here. What are you making salami? What were the ask a question, please. There we go. Okay, this is Miss Linda over here. Would you like to ask the question?
Can you just talk us through how long the salami will last when people get it home once it's in the cryo?
Okay, salami. The reason why it was invented because it preserves the meat for a long period of time. We can say that the salami you could hold for up to a year. We're pretty confident of that. But if you can hang on to it for a year, you're a better person than me because it'll go straight away. Yeah. Generally speaking, the thing about salami is that once you cut it open, it's got about 40 days of shelf life at room temperature. And you can carry it around in your rucksack and carry it around everywhere like the Romans did. And you've got about 40 days at room temperature. If you refrigerate it, you've got a hell of a lot longer. Keeping it packaged up and cling filmed up or in a box, wrapped in baking paper, you'll get a lot more life out of it. Although once you cut it open, you've got to eat it. It does dry out a little bit. But
it depends on the weather as well. Like, I wouldn't.
Exactly.
Midsummer, I wouldn't be carrying it around.
You need it straight away.
Yeah,
tell me it lasts. By the end of the day, it's gone. So that's the way to do it. Another question.
So what are the rules around hanging this at home for people at home? In their garage? Like, what are your tips for doing this?
There are no rules. It's up to you. But we've shown you our technique by keeping it safe and clean, being accurate with your salt measurements, and knowing the temperature. If you're making your salami in the open in the garage, it's making it the right time of year. Queen's birthday weekend, traditionally that's when it happens. Have a look at the Bureau of Meteorology weather chart. You can see it's going to be nice cold weather.
You want a cooler sort of environment, so that's why you make it in winter. And you don't want it under a tin shed with sun beating down on it, even in the middle of winter. So on the south side, or somewhere we've got a bit of shade.
Exactly. Well, I would say find an old Italian bloke, invite him round, give him some wine and some salami, and he will tell you all about what you need to do and the environment you need. Most places have, it's a great idea. If you most places around here, you can tell the salami places because when they open the back garage door, you see all the hooks up in the ceiling where they hang them all. But they're usually the best ones. So really, there's no hard and fast rules. You're making your own food, but if you keep it nice and safe, by following the temperature and times and the right amount of salt, you can make sure you've got perfect salami.
Can you just let people know that you're going to send them the recipes?
Recipes will come on Monday, and the salamis that we've made for everyone are fermenting and aging and maturing and breathing and festering away in a cabinet, special cabinet. We're actually going to get a readout of every single hour, every single bit of humidity of that, so we'll know all the details of it. It'll be ready in about 6 to 8 to 9 weeks. We'll be sending you updates, so we'll send you pictures of your salami, and then when we're all ready, we'll contact everyone and we'll arrange to get the salami out to you and delivered. And when you do get it, please take a photo and send it back to us. And I think that sort of covers it.
I've got a few more questions.
Oh, okay, a few more questions. There we go.
Can you let people know where they can get things like the casings?
Yep.
The casings, Liberty casings,
Yeah, they're in Coburg.
in Codburg. Codburg, that's it.
Coburgo.
Codburgo, that's it. Liberty casings, we use them for our natural casings. Lovely family company. They make all the casings from large to small. Natural casings are the casings that we recommend. You work out for yourself what you like. Buy some collagen or some fake casings. Yeah. Use them. They're great. A lot of people swear by them, so it's up to you what you use. We like Liberty. They're great.
Yeah.
Castagna Imports is another one on Bell Street. I believe there's another company.
All the little home wine market places or small goods places.
You walk in and there's wine stuff, salami stuff.
Sometimes you can ask your butcher as well. They might have it depending on what they make.
A good continental butcher would have them. Usually when you go in and ask your butcher for some skins, they'll say, why don't you buy my stuff? What do you want to make your own for? Why don't you buy my stuff? It's good. But if you get to know your butcher, you're buying the meat off them, get the skins from them, you'll get some advice, some tips, you'll get the nitrite off them, you'll get some flossy salt off them as well, which we recommend using flossy salt. Those sorts of things, getting involved. And probably a good idea as well is to get together with some other people who have maybe done it before, and then you'll pick up a few tips along the way, or come in here and do it with us one day. We always need a hand, don't we?
Yeah, this was the quickest and easiest salami I've ever made.
There you go.
Do you freeze the meats ahead before you use it?
No. Fresh meat, always fresh meat. We don't like to freeze any of the meat. One of the things.
No, I was talking about the mincer.
The mince?
The mincer head.
You can, if you've got a smaller mincer that's going to work harder, then maybe you could do that, but it's not necessary. So if you make it in winter, usually you get up in the morning and you're freezing cold. You're in a shed. Everything's cold anyway. So don't have the heaters on in the room you're going to make it.
Exactly. Keep it nice and cold. That's probably the most important thing. What you could do is put some ice around it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Put the thing in ice water and then take it out again. But if your mince is heating up, there's something wrong. You probably need to upgrade to a larger mincer.
I wouldn't recommend, like a KitchenAid or something, mince on that. It's just...
They're good for a kilo.
They're good for fresh sausages.
Yeah, for a kilo or two in fresh sausages. One of the things you might do is get your butcher to mince it. If you're making a large amount, 10 kilos, 15 kilos, with a couple of people, it may pay to get the meat and get your butcher to mince it all for you, and that way they'll be able to do most of it to the size you want, nice and quickly, cleanly, without heating the meat up at all.
So when you're mixing the meat, does the meat get warm?
Yes. When you're...
I get warm too.
A little bit, but it's such a minute amount. That's why you have someone big and strong like Angelo. He's doing the sweating, mixes the meat together. It does warm up a tiny bit, but it's not enough to cause any problems. I mean, if you ran a temperature gauge over it and your meat's at 20 degrees, you're doing it the wrong way. It's too hot. You want the meat to be about 5 degrees or less. That's about where you want to work with it. It should be cold on your hands, and if it feels cold on your hands, you're doing the right thing. If your meat's getting warm, you're overworking it, I think. And you probably need to put the whole lot into the fridge.
Right, So what size is the Rebec unit?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
That was about, where is it, the sausage machine? That was about 4 kilo, 5 kilo.
5 kilos. So we only had 5 kilos and we had a little bit left over.
Yeah.
So
you've got to repack it every so often. That'll hold, I don't know if our big one will hold 20 kilos, so it's a lot easier.
We very rarely do we use that red one, only for demonstrations, but that's what we normally punch 20 kilos through there. We probably use, we make a lot out of that thing, don't we? Yeah, constantly using that one.
Some people actually you can put nozzles onto your mincer and pump it back through that, but it's a hard way to do it, I think.
This wine's good.
Taste.
Now, Anthony Basilone, who's one of our favourite customers, has asked if we ever use a starter.
I've never used a starter, but I've heard you can use them. There's so many different recipes about, but...
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who use starter cultures. That's to get the fermentation going. It sort of guarantees... It's a great way, if you're starting off, to sort of guarantee success. even though we've made a lot of salami, every now and again we might have a batch that just doesn't work quite right. Using a starter culture to start it off and the right conditions can mean a lot more success. Usually the starter cultures may have some flavors as well, so you can use those flavoring agents. There's another company called Corona. They manufacture just about everything a butcher needs, and they manufacture a lot of different cultures and starters and flavors and those sorts of ingredients that go into salami to help get the fermentation and make it nice and safe.
We use brandy and grappa as our starter.
Brandy and grappa with a bit of garlic in it. That's the antiseptic part of it that cures everything. There we go.
How do you avoid pocket holes when drying?
Okay.
They're either drying too quick or they haven't been filled tightly enough.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a few different.
It's working it together, getting the air bubbles out of it. If you've got air bubbles in it, that's usually the air bubble was in there already, and it's and that's
why you got to pack it in the machine.
Well, you got to pack it in the machine. You got to make sure you get every single.
It's all
air bubble.
about not letting air in,
pricking it so you get the air out of it, and also that's another reason for the netting. It actually helps contract the whole salami as it dries out and contracts. It squeezes it together and holds it nice and firm, and hopefully stops it from getting air bubbles. Yeah. One of the things that we talked about with air bubbles is dry ingredients as well. We added a few dry ingredients to the salami mix, but we've found from trial and error that if you add a lot of dry ingredients to your salami, I'm talking about peppercorns
or whole chili flakes sometimes that sort of tends to dry around.
Yeah, so they'll sort of, because they're dry, they sort of extract the moisture from around them, so you're more likely to get air holes with that. If you want to use peppercorns and chilies, a good idea to maybe soak them in the wine that you're going to use. Soak them in the wine so that they go through, they're already moist and they don't drag any of the moisture out of the salami.
Someone was asking if they can smoke their salami when they get it home, when you send it to them.
You can
probably already dried by then,
you can smoke anything you want in the comfort of your own home, so that's up to you. But if you can smoke it, you will get a bit of flavour on the outside of it. Basically, by the time you get it, the job's done. So we haven't smoked any of the salami, and I will say that's where my grandfather comes from in the north of Italy. They do smoke their salami,
smoking, yeah.
and we would smoke it to give it flavour. But also with the smoking as well helps to, usually when you put it in a smoker, even though it may be a cold smoker, it does take the temperature up, 15, 18, 20 degrees Celsius. It accelerates the fermentation process and gets it going a little bit quicker, and then it goes into a nice cold environment. A good cold smoke over a couple of days gives it a lovely flavour as well. I think it's a beautiful thing. Yes, you could smoke it if you want. I don't think you're going to get that much flavour inside it. You'll get some of the smoking flavour on the outside of it, but just remember there's a skin on the outside as well we're going to peel off, so you're probably not going to eat that as well.
If someone's building a little salami, something to ferment their salami in, do they need to control the humidity as well as the temperature?
Yeah.
Look, if you can control it and keep it about 78 degrees, that's a great thing. We know that if you've got a wine cooler and you've got a little bit of water in the bottom of it and you've got some lovely mold on it, humidity is good. That's what you're looking for. Sometimes when you run your hand down the side of a fridge and you can feel just the tiniest bit of moisture, that's about as much as you want in there. You can get a little humidity gauge and measure it, pop it in there, and if humidity goes down to 50 to 50%, you could always spray some more in there. So that's probably the manual or the analog way of doing it. But
it's all trial and error.
I'm sure you throw enough money. You throw enough money at the problem, and you'll be able to find a solution for it.
What are you drinking?
It's a red wine.
Wine and vodka. I think we've got some lovely vodka here. This is a Merlot.
The wine's nice.
It's a lovely on-tap wine, which goes beautifully with the salami, Angelo, don't you think? But it's lovely. It's from La Luna Bistro wine selection, I think, from the cellar.
Can you? Someone's asked if they can buy a T-shirt.
Can you buy a T-shirt?
Sign it.
Yeah, well, we probably can. We probably can. Do we do the? Have we got someone's birthday? Is it a T-shirt?
Yes, so that is.
Okay, with Wayne. Yeah, you can buy the T-shirts there from Richo's Deli, and I will say, Wayne, I know it's your birthday. You didn't get your T-shirt. This is your T-shirt here. It's covered in stuff. I'm going to take the T-shirt off later. I'm going to wrap it up in a Ziploc bag, and I'm going to put it somewhere very warm for 24 hours. And I'm going to put it in a post bag and send it to you.
With a bit of mould on it.
It's going to smell good. So we'll be sending it to you. And I believe we've got a happy birthday to Peter as well. Happy birthday to him. But Wayne, this will be your T-shirt. Peter, happy birthday. Does that cover the T-shirt? Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect.
Thank you very, very much for having us in your house, and thank you very much for your support. I hope we've answered a lot of questions. I hope we've been slightly entertaining. I think we have. And I hope we've sort of given you a little bit of inspiration into making your own. If you start making your own salami, it is a great experience. It's something that we love doing. We love eating it even more. But when you start making your own things, and it just takes it to another level, I think. You know, you're not using the mass-produced stuff that everyone else makes. You're making your
It's
homemade
a totally
stuff.
different flavour.
It is. It's so much better. And this is something that...
And you start small and you just work your way up.
Exactly. And this is probably the thing that comes back to my philosophy from the beginning with cooking, being a chef. Some of the best food I've ever eaten is my nonna. You know, in my nonna's house, eating her food. And to me, home-cooked food is always the best. And that's what we try and do here at La Luna Bistro at 320 Rathdown Street, North Melbourne. What we try and do is produce home-style food. This is what we make here, and this is what we sell to you, and this is what we like doing.
I've got one last question from Brett Hartman.
Oh, Black Dog. There we go.
He wants to know how long you hang it for and how he would know if it was ready to go at home.
So what's hanging?
Feel and
Brett?
touch.
So the salami, as we showed before, we've got this one here. If you hang the salami, this is hung for about 8 weeks, and you can feel it's firm. You know, it feels like it's nice and firm. It doesn't feel like raw meat. It feels like it's ready to slice. It also has a great smell to the outside of it. And you can just, you know, there's always one sample when you've got to sacrifice it. You cut the bottom of it off, and it's ready to go.
That's one extra salami I've got to make.
Exactly. It's about 6 to 8 weeks when it starts firming up. That depends on the size of it. The bigger the salami, the longer it takes. But when it's nice and firm, it's ready to go. That's how we know. I mean, the smaller pancetta there, we know that's going to be about 6 weeks. But when it's something that you'll document, when you've taken notes on what you've made, you'll actually put the time that it took to dry out, so you remember that for next year.
And some people like it quite moist. It's all personal opinion.
Personal preference.
My dad's mates will just start, 3 weeks I'll start eating nearly raw salami. Like, oh, this is really good, really good.
Because they can't wait. They're going to eat it straight away. That's the way to do it.
I've got one thing. People are asking if you're going to do any more of these things. That's our last.
Okay, are we getting...
No, I'm not going to do any more.
Oh, you are, so you have to. I can't do it without you. We can do it together. What we're going to do, we probably do... I mean, someone asked about the prosciutto salami, the prosciutto masterclass. That's the next level. I think you have to confirm your meat credentials all the way along. I'll have to do...
You have to pass the salami test.
You have to pass the salami test, and we'll do that one. We were thinking of doing a butchery course where we're going to maybe butcher a side of beef, break it down, show you the cuts, and maybe you can butcher it and show where the cuts come from, and I'll show you how to cook a perfect steak, that sort of thing. We've got some pigs to break down. We'll probably do some stuff like that. Making sausages, nice, easy, and fun. And a quick one, and maybe breaking down some pigs. And I know some of my friends there like hunting deer and wild boar. If they were happy to throw an animal our way.
That's what my son's into now, big buck hunter.
Exactly.
He's going, when can we go hunting, Dad?
That's a go. It's we can do that. We can show you how to break that down. But thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back one day, hopefully, and we'll be back online to show you how to do stuff, and we'll be back in the restaurant cooking stuff for you. We can't wait for that to happen. Thank you very much, Angelo Marchetti.